It's no secret that the movie theater industry has had some financial trouble recently. A decent amount of theaters are still struggling to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, that event that kind of prevented everyone from being tightly packed in a closed room. Yeah, that one. In fact, AMC Theaters was pretty much on the brink of bankruptcy until it got meme-stocked back into existence. But even now that the pandemic has subsided a bit, people have still opted out of going back to the movies entirely. Whether it be the high ticket cost or the fact that popcorn will set you back about $18 and not even include a Dune bucket. But this past summer, the Barbenheimer phenomenon brought crowds back to theaters not seen since before the pandemic, like Avengers Endgame type stuff. Aside from being two great movies, one of the biggest contributors to the overwhelming success of this event was something called a Premium Large Format Theater, or PLF. As the name implies, it's superior to other movie theater formats. They usually feature some sort of selling point like a better sound, a higher quality projection system, or bigger screen. There's Dolby, Big D, AMC Prime, but most notably, IMAX. My focus is going to be on the undisputed king of PLFs, which is 70mm IMAX film. See, one of the biggest marketing pushes for Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer was that it was partially shot on a medium called 1570 perforation IMAX film. Although this is far from Christopher Nolan's first venture into the format, this is the first time it's caught an exponential amount of steam. 1570mm IMAX film is notoriously exclusive, and not without reason. The cameras are kind of hard to work with, they're big and bulky, and when rolling sound like a machine gun firing.
Action.
The film is expensive, very expensive, with about 3 minutes of footage costing you about, $1,500, and there's only 30-some theaters in the entire world even capable of playing the format to begin with. But probably the most noticeable thing that separates IMAX projection from standard projection is its aspect ratio. See, most commercial IMAXs have a screen that is formatted to a 190:1 aspect ratio. A good chunk of digitally shot movies for IMAX are shot specifically for 190:1, such as Top Gun Maverick. But IMAX 70mm features an incredibly tall aspect ratio with 143:1, with the goal being to make it the most immersive viewing format imaginable. You can, in fact, see movies with the IMAX aspect ratio at home, but almost all IMAX 70mm home releases have been cropped to 190:1 to fit your TV, with the only outliers being Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice and a special edition of The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, which feature the expanded aspect ratios. So really, the only way to get the full effect is to go watch a 1570mm film print in a theater with a projection capable of playing it. Lucky for me, one of those 30-something theaters with an IMAX GT projector was relatively close with the Indiana State Museum. So I drove about 2.5 hours to go talk with their chief projectionist, Wayne Indyk, about what it takes to play an IMAX film, as well as why it's the most preferred format to see certain movies, as well as catch a screening of Dune Part 2, another film with a big IMAX 70mm marketing push.
Hi, I'm Wayne. I'm the chief projectionist here at the IMAX Theater at the Indiana State Museum. When we run film, I'm the one who puts the films together and I project them. I also work when we're running digital. IMAX 1570 runs horizontally. It's 70 millimeters tall and it's 15 perforations per frame, which gives you an image size that's about the size of a postcard. And the image size is about 10 times bigger than regular 35, which also runs vertically, and it's about that wide. And then digital is, a whole different thing. Films are delivered on a hard drive and projected with digital projectors.
Regular 70mm goes this way, and each frame is 5 perforations, so this is 3 times bigger than that, and it's about 10 times bigger than 35mm, which is what was in most theaters back in the day.
Quick aside, here we have a strip of standard 70 and 1570mm. See, 1570 is 3 5 perforation stills stacked on top of each other, as you can see here, both of which produce extreme high quality images.
Well, the resolution for film is chemical, actually. It's molecules of silver, and digital, it's pixels, and the equivalence, there's a massive difference between the resolution of film and the number of pixels. Dune 2 arrived in 49 reels that I spliced together into 3 platters, which I then wound onto the single platter on the projector. Oppenheimer was 59 reels, and actually for Oppenheimer we had to add extensions onto the platters in order to be able to play it, because that was longer than the platters would hold. we did amazing attendance for both Oppenheimer and now Dune 2. There's some talk of some other films that weren't originally planned to be shown in film that may get IMAX releases as well. We're hoping that happens. I think of it in much the same way that vinyl records have had a comeback. I think people are starting to appreciate what some of these analog formats can really do.
And before wrapping up, I wanted to touch on one last thing. See, Oppenheimer was shot on film and released on film. It's what made IMAX extremely popular with general audiences right now. However, with Dune Part 2, the case is slightly different. Dune 2 is being played on 1570mm film in select locations and features the 1:4:3 aspect ratio. But the thing that separates it from films like Oppenheimer, Interstellar, Dunkirk was that it was not shot on film. It was only printed on film because of Oppenheimer's success. Dune 2 was actually shot with digital cameras and converted to film in a post-production process. With films like Joker 2 also following this trend of printing digital movies onto film, it really raises the question of whether or not 70mm is actually having a reemergence or is just coming as a passing fad that will eventually die out, kind of like how 3D did. Whether an IMAX film can be considered genuine 70mm or not, it is ultimately up to audiences to decide whether or not film lives or dies as a medium of artistic expression.
This is Wade. It's 7 o'clock. I'm ready to start the show.